Here's a warm-up thought experiment to get your mind in infinity gear. I want to build a house on some land that I own. I need to hire someone to build my house because I have no upper body strength, so I go to InstaHouse Incorporated. The manager explains to me that all their workers have the amazing ability of being able to build a house instantaneously, which makes their labor very expensive. I ask how many workers they have. The manager tells me that they have infinity workers who all conveniently have their worker number tattooed onto their face. I ask, is there a last worker with an infinity on his face? The manager tells me that there is no last worker because infinity is endless. Every worker has a number which can be written with the digits 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Infinity is not a number, so there is no last worker. This gives me an idea. I decide to hire all the workers. The manager really likes this idea because that means I'll probably end up needing to pay an infinite amount of money. Now, I write out my contract with the workers like so. At 12 o'clock, come to my land and wait 1/2 to the power of n hours, where n is your worker number tattooed onto your face, before building my house. If my house is already there before then you don't get paid. That seems fair enough. If you don't do the work of building my house, then you don't get paid. Now, what does all that math stuff mean? Well, let's draw a timeline from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. In the exact middle of those 2 points, at 12:30, worker 1 is scheduled to build my house. He will only build my house if my house isn't already there yet. In between 12 o'clock and worker number 1 at 12:15, I've scheduled worker number 2. He also will only build my house only if I don't have a house by 12:15. Worker number 3 is scheduled halfway between 12 o'clock and worker number 2. Worker number 4 is scheduled halfway between 12 o'clock and worker number 3, and so on with all the workers. Now, the next day after 12 o'clock, a house instantly appears on my lawn. I meet with the workers so I can pay everyone who needs to be paid. Worker 1 comes forward and asks me to pay him. I tell him that I don't need to pay him because I know that he couldn't have built my house. Worker 2 would have built my house before Worker 1, so it's impossible that Worker 1 is a dude I need to pay. So Worker 2 comes forward and asks to be paid. I say that I don't need to pay Worker 2 because Worker 3 would have beaten Worker 2 to building my house. So I know that I don't need to pay Worker 2. In fact, I could use this very same logic to prove that I don't need to pay workers 3, 4, 5, and so on. In fact, I could use the same logic to prove that I don't need to pay any of the workers. Worker number 5, the level-headed one of the group, asks me, then who built your house? The answer, surprisingly, is that no one built my house. If you think that's wrong, just tell me which worker it was. What was the number on his face? Let's just call that number X for now. Okay, because there are infinity workers, there's another guy after worker X. The number on his face is X plus 1. This worker would have beaten worker X to the chance at building my house. So, no matter what worker you think built my house, that can't possibly be right because they would have been beaten to it. This logic applies to all workers, so none of the workers actually built my house. So, what's the moral of the story? Don't get an infinitely large mob of hammer-wielding people mad at you. The end. Okay, seriously, what's going on here? We had infinity workers plus the ability to instantly create a house, plus a weird contract I made with them, leading to the impossibility of my house coming into existence without being created by any worker. Now, an objection that some people actually raise is that this scenario is really weird, but not impossible. But that could be fixed easily. Let's just add to the contract that the worker who builds my house needs to write their worker number, which is tattooed onto their face, onto the side of my house. No matter what number is actually written on the side of my house, it should have actually been a bigger number than that. And remember, it would have to be a number, it couldn't just be infinity, because there is no infinitieth worker. This makes the scenario impossible because my house would need to have a number on it, but no number would be the correct number. So once we add all these parts of the thought experiment together, we get an impossibility. Now, what made this an impossibility? Well, I think that it's obviously not the contract. The contract is a thing that I could totally go and write with a construction company who had less than infinity workers. It would be weird, and I might get some funny stares, but it's totally possible. So, one of the other parts of our thought experiment made everything break. That wasn't very nice of it. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.